My name is Valentijn Siebrand. I'm the Dutch guy. I work for M2A Media in London. We deliver live streams all over the globe. Customers include the BBC, The Zone, Channel 4 and many others. And I was asked by Streaming Media West to moderate this panel. But live production in the cloud doesn't mean many things to me. It's just I'm very curious about all of this. And I have my panelists here, Philip, Andrew and Rudy. And I think it's time to introduce yourselves. So, starting with you, Philippe.
Okay, so I'm the French guy. Philippe, nice to see you. So I'm one of the co-founders of EasyLive. We provide a cloud-based production studio, just like VMix, but fully cloud-based, basically. So we work on different verticals, a B2B company, esports, sports, media, traditional broadcasters.
I'm Andrew Heingold. I'm an advisor on Singular.live. I have a 20-year background in doing live broadcast graphics for a lot of major networks with a company called Reality Check. A few years ago, we realized the opportunities arriving in the streaming market, so we looked at opportunities to take a lot of our skills and lessons that we learned from traditional broadcasts and apply them in the web world, and developed a product called Singular.live, which was a web-based application, a web-based tool for authoring, creating, and controlling graphics in the cloud. So looking to not just reduce the barriers to entry to one of the most complex and frustrating aspects of live production, which is graphics overlays, but also to just make it easier in enabling this new market of content creators the capabilities to use and enhance their broadcast streams with a graphics platform.
Good afternoon, my name is Rudy Ellis. I'm the CEO of Switchboard Live. We developed a cloud-based platform that makes it easy for content creators, big and small, primarily social media marketing teams, to leverage cloud-based distribution. We have various NFL teams, we have some leading brands that basically are leveraging our platform for distribution and management from a non-technical workflow.
Okay. When we spoke on the phone about 4 weeks ago for the first time, one of my main questions was if we would do the World Cup, the entire production of a World Cup event in the cloud, would that be possible today, Philip?
So that's a good one. I think it's a misconception of many people of the aim of the cloud. As of today, 2018, or 2019, I don't see the cloud replacing the traditional production truck. That's not the goal. You still need the production truck at the venue, for example, at the World Cup arena. The goal of a production switcher in the cloud is to be the final control room that you have in the traditional broadcast experience. On the digital asset, usually you have VMix or whatever you have locally, and you publish straight to Facebook, for example. Adding something in the cloud, you can basically do multi-languages, add different graphics, do more complex workflow basically in the clouds. Yes, from a technical standpoint, you could. Does it make sense? Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. And how's that for you? Do you think it's going to happen in the future?
I think I agree with Philippe that although it could be done, although some of the the viewership and those kind of numbers can be very difficult to achieve. I think when you're looking at a single event like the World Cup, there's the money and budget in place to do it the way we've traditionally done it. I think where the opportunity lies where you have maybe amateur teams and leagues not doing one event, but 1,000 events.
Yeah.
Because that's where you can really use the scalability of the cloud to produce vast numbers of different events, and using the scalable nature of products like that these guys are delivering and Singular to overlay them to do content that just was not possible in the traditional broadcast production workflow that you would use for an event like the World Cup.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could do it, but
why?
Leverage it in other areas to create new content.
Yeah. Okay. Rudy, do you think it's possible in the future?
Future, sure, anything's possible, right? But I definitely agree with the panelists up here. There are definitely pros and cons to want to embark and leverage the cloud. Primarily just the ability to scale up, really, really fast. So if there are various certain requirements or needs, you can leverage the cloud resources to be able to do that, whether it is graphics or insertion and so forth. And then also the bandwidth, right? There's probably just sheer amount of bandwidth that you have to, someone has to pay for that, right?
Yeah.
From a deliverability standpoint, ingestion standpoint, and those are factors that you really have to think about that, right now you probably still could do with, regular traditional broadcasts, but leveraging the cloud from a distribution standpoint, from a QC standpoint, there are definitely things that you can, definitely do. And then we'll just have to see what happens in the future.
Yeah, but we are a long way from
Yeah.
getting rid of the truck next to the stadium. Then I guess.
But even, like in the case you mentioned, for example, with Easy Live, we are frame accurate when we do switching in the cloud. Not with every protocol, that's not possible with RTMP, but if you take SRT, for example, we are frame accurate. I really see that you need basically the production truck locally to switch from camera 1 to camera 2.
Yeah.
But once we receive the clean feed in the cloud, you could basically make a specific production for the US and a separate one for French, for example, or Spain or Germany, where you can have all from the same feed that you receive, all the graphics matching the right language, having voice over it in French, because French I won't
or
understand,
Dutch.
and not in Chinese, for example. So it's easier to retain your audience.
Yeah.
You can have redundancy being in the cloud. If your local ingest dies, even if you have a bonding solution, you can trigger a separate live source being in the cloud. So you guarantee the delivery to your audience on Facebook, on whatever platform, on your own hosting channel, basically. So there are a lot of added value moving your production on the cloud efforts, but it doesn't have to replace what you do locally.
So let's say from the clean, you would say today, clean feed is enough, and the rest you can do in the cloud. So
Yeah, exactly. You can standardize. I mean, we see more and more the trend is that people will spend a lot of money on a very fancy production with a couple of cameras and everything, but the daily operation will be with one camera feed. For example, so bringing all your assets in the cloud with the graphics, all the distribution, you can standardize everything. So no matter who you rely from, like a local production company in LA or New York or Paris, you guarantee the same experience to your viewer standardizing stuff in the cloud.
And Andrew, how does that work for you with localization of content and graphics and all that?
That's where my background in traditional broadcast sort of ends. With some of our clients, especially on the e-gaming, we're doing the main broadcast feed. So we have high-end standard VizRT systems sponsoring the graphics locally. But the clients also want to do 5 or 10 different languages with the languages of different sponsorship. That's where we're using cloud-based solutions like what Philippe's talking about to do the replication. So the primary broadcast is on site because these e-gaming events are large enough to support that, where the different localized versions or the secondary multilateral feeds are done cloud-based.
Yeah. And Rudy, that if I would do the World Cup, I guess social media, I know social media is very important.
Huge.
Yeah, huge. Let's just say Philippe does production, Andrew does graphics, and finally deliver it to you. Do you touch the content when you, let's say, ingest it into social media?
If there's a need to, yeah. So for us, our platform specializes in creating those connections to various platforms. So whatever that distribution strategy is, whether it's multi-strategy where it's Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, but we actually work with partners who have a multiple strategy on even the same platforms, right? So being able to support partners and sponsors across their full social landscape. So there could be multiple pages that exist on Facebook, multiple Twitter or Periscope accounts, and YouTube as well. And so from a distribution and strategy standpoint, from a content, from a title, there's a lot to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
And so these are the benefits of leveraging cloud-based platforms to be able to do that. So it's not just one publish to all. I mean, there's different intricacies on the different outputs that you have to consider as part of your full strategy.
Yeah. One of the central themes always with live streaming, especially with sports, is, let's say, latency.
Sure.
I personally have done a project in Australia, but it was primarily coming from England. And basically it took a minute before somebody in Australia could see it. And Twitter was announcing the goal, that's a problem. How does that affect your solution, Philippe? Latency.
Not much because it depends on the protocol that you use.
Yeah.
So if you ingest to us in RTMP, you have the natural delay due to the keyframe basically, and there is not much you can do about that. We need to decode it before understanding what's in the packages. So if you use other protocol like SRT, WebRTC, or other more real-time protocol, again we are frame accurate, so the delay is a couple of frames.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of customers in Australia where they don't get any delay. Or we do every week some of the biggest esports events around the world. where we do multi-languages. So you have one event located, let's say, in San Francisco or LA, and we have remote producers in Tokyo.
Yeah.
You know, they don't.
But do all these users experience sort of the same latency?
But that's a tough one again, because it relies on, I mean, first, if you have RTMP, you will have it.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you use other protocol, you don't, but then I have no clue what internet connection they have on site.
No, yeah.
You know, at some point where they get the feedback from their source,
Yeah.
if their internet connection sucks, I mean, or their computer is, I don't know, 10 years old, you
yeah.
can have, you know, inherent
One
delay
thing
due to the material.
I was going to add to that is you also have to, you're not reliant on the platforms as well. So once you do the handoff, depending on geographic location, so viewers, they're going to have a different experience as well, from their viewing standpoint. So the best way to do it is obviously if you have points of presence that are close to the ingestion for these platforms, it's definitely something key to kind of keep in mind to help reduce with the latency standpoint, where you will experience those long TTLs.
Yeah. But Andrew, if you do live graphics, is that how does that work for you? Live graphics in the cloud, is it just basically the rendering and pulling it back in, or is it just a proxy during ingest or contribution? How does that work for you?
Very good question. When we do the graphics on the Singular platform, it replicates in milliseconds instantaneously to the destination.
Yeah.
So it's ideal to have the graphics overlaid where your primary production is. So if it's in the cloud, on Philippe's site, for example, whenever the video sources get there, the person watching the video will font it appropriately to when the sources get there, so they'll be married in time to the source.
Yeah.
If it's being produced on site, when they trigger the graphic, it'll come up instantaneous there. Now, what we were doing with some of our clients is we also can render in the player on the local browser side.
Yeah.
But typically the delays can be anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds. So we take UTC timecode stamps, make a manifest, read the incoming timecode data, and trigger the graphic when it gets there. So when that score happens, the graphic doesn't change 20 seconds before it happens. It waits till the actual embedded timecode and triggers that event there. So, I think what we're going to see, though, in answer to the original question, you have to define what is a delay. Current broadcasts, when you're doing a live production, you have 3 satellite hops from the main live production back to the broadcast facility to distribution into the head-end unit. So you're talking 3 to 4 seconds anyway. With WebRTC and protocols, you can get it under a second delivery if it's going direct end to end. If you're using, Twitch on a gamer, you're talking 15 to 20 seconds delay. But I think with some of these new protocols we're seeing, as the latency drops and we're getting their sub-second delivery, it's going to be very interesting because the content will be a lot faster than traditional
TV. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the delay is not, it depends of your content. The delay is not always the main concern. It actually depends. For example, if you take esports, which is a huge market growing a lot, esports, the delay part is actually something they want to prevent cheating and stuff like this. So they need delay. And the main concern by the audience is not the delay, that's the frame rate. They want a guaranteed frame rate. So it really depends, for example. So for example, at EasyLive, we had to bring that solution to our customers where we guarantee the frame rate. So if you feed us with 30, 60 frames per second, if you drop frames locally because of your material or bandwidth or whatever, we duplicate the missing frame to guarantee that the delivery will be like a strict 60 frames per second for your audience, for example, in this area.
Yeah. And how does that work with commentary? If you do esports, is there somebody doing commentary, or do you produce this as well? Do you facilitate that process of commentary, or?
We don't produce anything. We provide a SaaS platform, so the customers takes care of everything. Yeah. But yes, we basically provide a virtual control room. So everything is server side on AWS. So basically, we provide you an access to that. So let's say I have an event in Tokyo, and I don't know, you are the US commentator for that event. You have an access to our platform. You can bring in whatever production setup you have, either with one or multiple cameras. We will ingest it in WebRTC to be real time with the images that you are watching. And so you can dub over it and deliver the experience to your audience. And so we do that for every language in the world.
Yeah. One question for Rudy is, if I contribute, let's say, an original, intended for TV content, do you make it square video in terms of, for social media? Do you touch it in that way?
Yeah, we do support transcoding. So if you do need to change the aspect ratio video that's coming in,
Yeah.
we'll definitely be able to support that, that square 4:3,
Yeah.
or kind of the Instagram view, right? That's what
Yeah.
we're getting used to. But yeah, we definitely support that. And then we also have, minor kind of overlay abilities where there's a lower third or a bug as well. You can actually do that as well. So we have, we're not as sophisticated from a production studio, but those are requests that do come in where you have a clean feed coming in and it's going out to 5 different destinations that are, co-sponsors of one particular event, and there may be requirements on a per destination basis, so we can support that as well as change the aspect ratio.
And Andrew, is Square Graphics, how does that work for you?
So
That's a good question.
as we start going more client side, which we've been doing on a lot of our rendering, our clients have asked for responsive graphics from the web world. So
Yeah.
we're building in responsive capabilities to accommodate any amount of different formats. So aspect ratio, screen resolution. So if it's a smaller one for a phone, there'll be a set of graphics that are slightly larger, and the aspect ratios will accommodate.
Yeah, okay.
So that is a big issue coming up.
Are there any questions from the audience? Anyone have a question? Yeah, can you? The mic is coming.
This is for Philippe. How far are we away from being able to take different camera feeds, have the ISOs all come in the cloud, and actually mix down the program in the cloud? What is it going to take technologically to make that happen?
It's already there. That's something you do with us, for example, where you can have multiple live source from either the same venue or remote location. You can display all of them and switch between them, add graphics, that's already there.
Yeah.
It's more budget on your side. Can you afford having different encoders per camera and the right bandwidth? So it's more a budget question on your side and on ours. We have the capability, and we already do that with our customers.
So your software is like being mixed in the cloud? Is that what you said earlier?
It is. It's a production room in the cloud. So you have multiple layers. You can have up to 8 live sources at the same time. You have a preview window, the output, and so you can have all your sources, mix all that together. So if you use SRT or WebRTC, you can be frame accurate when you switch. So it's already there. So it's more a constraint on your side, what type of setup you can afford locally. But again, in our vision, the role of the cloud is not necessarily to replace the production truck locally, because having one dedicated encoder per feed, it will cost you more money than having a production truck on site.
So what about more for lower level productions? Like if everybody has a phone that's basically an encoder in their pocket.
Yeah.
So what kind of work have you guys been doing with mobile?
So that's a feature that we provide with WebRTC. So you add a source on our platform, it generates an URL, and you can share it with whatever you want. It's just an URL that you open with Safari on an iPhone or Chrome on an Android device. It works with computer. So if you take a computer, for example, you can capture either the webcam or any window open on your desktop. So it could be the output of vMix. This way you ingest in real time the output of vMix. So you can do switching with vMix, and with WebRTC you ingest that to us basically. So it's already working with different products.
Oh,
Sorry?
blackouts, resiliency, redundancy.
So basically we decode everything we receive. So if one feed dies, every source has an automated fallback system. It could be an image, a looping video, a dedicated live source, and so we switch automatically. So we guarantee the delivery. That's something that we do at EasyLive. Is so if your source dies for whatever reason, we trigger what's necessary, and we guarantee the delivery to make sure you don't lose your audience on Facebook, for example.
Any more questions?
So are you using WebRTC for delivery to clients as well?
Yes, we support every protocol in ingest and in output.
Okay, and how do you scale WebRTC compared to an HTTP server, for example?
Sorry, can you say
How does the scaling work? I mean, how many clients do you serve per server compared to a simple HTTP download server?
I'm not sure to understand your question.
Okay, so how many clients does your WebRTC server support?
Oh,
I mean, there must be a difference.
that's a good question. I'm not sure how
It's different
to answer.
than Akamai and HTTP. Yeah.
Let's say that right now we haven't seen any saturation of our servers or any limitation, basically. So I don't really know what to answer to this. I mean, we have hundreds of customers around the world using this feature. Most of the time, our customers deliver an RTMP because most of them deliver to Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and other platforms. We have some of them who deliver in their own playouts by UDP or with Zixi or others, so the other protocols. Delivering back in WebRTC, we just have one use case when we deliver content to Mixer for esports, which is a derivative of WebRTC, FTL, Fast and Light, the protocol that they use. So most of the time, the WebRTC is more ingesting to us. And so for this, I mean, we rely on the local asset you have. That's so.
Right, so my question was, do you deliver that to the consumer as well, WebRTC?
Oh, no. We basically, we stand between the local producers and the entry door of Facebook, for example.
Right.
So we don't deal with the consumer. That's not our role at all.
Okay, so that was my question. Thank you.
Any more questions?
I'm curious about the process getting into the cloud.
I think she's
Sorry, can you
coming.
wait till I
I was curious about the process getting into the cloud. I guess, do you have an encoder that you all feed all time code if you're doing frame accurate cutting in the cloud?
So we have native integration with Teradek, LiveView, and others encoders. So you just select Easy Live and log in, and that's it.
Philippe, what about the frame accuracy when you're getting two different feeds from different locations? Are they
Yeah.
getting there at the same time? We know the buffering delay by TMP feeds.
Yeah, but it depends on the protocol. So with SRT, yes. With other protocol, you always have a bit of difference. Like RTMP, you can't
You don't have
synchronize
time
two
to.
RTMP feeds. It's not possible.
How do you do that globally? Then, how do you feed time code to global servers?
So I can put you in touch with my CTO if you want more detail. I won't be the right person to enter into that detail, but I mean, with SRT, we work with different encoding companies, and for example, like AviWest, where and so everything we do with them in both, so with SRT in both H.264 or H.265, we are frame accurate with it. After how does it work, like the magic sauce behind, I don't know, that's too technical for me.
No more questions? Ah. Wait for the mic.
I'm in traditional broadcasting where in transmission you have like a primary and a backup. Do you have that kind of redundancy? And is there a check-in process where the client will check in with whoever's getting the downlink and look at the backup, look at the primary, and do you go through that process? And what about monitoring during the program? Is there some kind of video stream analyzer or something that can be available to a client to see the quality of the video?
Yes, so every live source that we receive comes in a layer. And so in each layer, you can add whatever media you want. So if you have a live source, you can select which backup you attach to it. So it could be an image. Let's say you don't have a backup stream. It's an image or a looping video that you upload. If you have, let's say, a wired connection locally and a second encoder with a LiveView backpack, for example, you can define this secondary source as your backup. And so we switch automatically when we don't detect of frames within the time frame. And so you customize this. And we monitor everything. Everything is monitored from the ingest. So let's say even if you have like a lip sync issue, for example, you can view the feed that you are ingesting to us and see if it comes from your local setup or from us. You can see how behave the instance that we allocate you. So everything can be monitored. And actually, if you don't like the way we display it, everything is API driven, so you could even recreate your own template and your own layout with all the monitoring.
Rudy, you wanted to
Well, I
say
just want to
something.
say, typically with cloud-based is you're going to make sure you have two separate encoders, right? So two separate encoders, and the ideal world would be from two separate internet providers as well. Because if that primary goes down, then you're definitely, same thing with multiple downlinks, you're going to want to have two separate providers as well. So that's something that, depending on the event, you want to make sure that you're able to get as well from a redundancy standpoint too.
Any more questions from the audience? No? Okay. I wanted to thank you for your attention. And yeah, see you next time. Okay.